And got week 4 waivers. It's time for garbage time. Welcome into Garbage Time Fantasy Football. I am your host, Ron Seymour, and with me is Joseph McCann, the people that don't need to do anything funny or fancy to convince you that we're the better hosts.
That's right. No gimmicks to the entrance here, right, Ron?
That's right. We just go old school because we are the best.
It's the hardest part of the week. It's waiver time. And the most heart-wrenching.
Yeah, because
besides losing.
With waivers comes, people that got injured generally. So,
or spending all your fab money, which we are talking about doing for our Mega the Bowl team.
Which I just did for one of my teams.
Great. Starting off fantastic. So, Ron, what do we have for everyone tonight?
All right, today we're going to do the news. We've got waivers, and then we got a lineup setting section.
Yeah, don't worry. I'll cover that little email in the news and then tell Christian what we're doing with it.
Tidbit. All right, let's go ahead and you want to get into the news?
Let's do it.
News updates.
We have news updates for everyone. So David Montgomery was thought to be out for the season with an ACL. To JJ's shock and miracle, he is not. He thought he was only going to be out for a week or two. They are saying 4 to 5 weeks, but that man has gummy bears for muscle. So who knows how long this is going to be, but it's going to be interesting, and we will discuss which players might play well and might be waiver pickups due to this injury. What are your thoughts on the David Montgomery issue, Ron?
Happy that it's not a torn ACL. He could still come back and be relevant for fantasy playoffs, which is nice. But it's definitely going to hurt people's team if they can't get Damien Williams.
Yeah, it's going to be quite challenging, and there's an interesting topic with that tonight concerning other injuries, such as Joe Mixon, should he not play this week. It's actually in our segment, which one should be your number one claim going into this waiver wire, and we want you to answer that in the comments. Like this episode, subscribe to the show, and Ron, where can you find this show?
Oh, you can find us at our website at www.garbagetimeff.com, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, iHeartRadio, pretty much anywhere you find your podcasts, we're there.
Yep, you can leave your voicemails, hate mails, or in Christian's standpoint, because he's super duper creative, a goddamn email, which I will be reading shortly. And our next little bit of news, too, Tony Jones is out for 3 to 4 weeks. He is the Saints' backup, and you may have paired him as the handcuff going into this. I think it's safe to say that Tony Jones is a good cut, and you will be looking to pick up someone else on waivers, Ron.
I would say Tony Jones was a bad drafted player if you drafted him.
And in other news, Ben Roethlisberger hurt his hip. He is as old as Ron and probably on his way outside of the league. So what's your thoughts on Big Ben being as old as you, Ron?
Wait, how old is he really? He's
39, I think. He's in your ballpark.
Whew, he's a little bit older than me. I got a few more years.
Yeah, man. He's flexing that hip out there. And if you're playing him in 2-quarterback league, you might want to start looking at other options, which we'll mention under the quarterback in the waiver section of this show. So definitely do that. And we see you watching, one person. Go ahead and drop a comment if you got any waiver questions or anything else you'd like to comment. Or if you just like to harass us right there in the corner, we'll respond to it. So another little bit of news, too. Rashad Bateman is expected to make his debut this season on Monday Night Football. What do you think it's going to do for the Ravens offense next week?
Well, I know they were really hyped up about this kid coming out of draft, and everyone was touting him as being, a really good possession-type receiver that could help Lamar Jackson out a lot. I think, you should pick him up and stash him just in case, see what happens. I would not start him this week, obviously. You got to see before you do anything.
Yeah, JJ, and we agree. That is some sad shit that you're the person that's actually watching this show right now. And our next little bit of news, too. Actually, I'm lying. That is our last little bit of news. So with that, I think we can get into the waiver section of our show, right, Ron?
Yeah, not much for the news. Mainly just the injury there to David Montgomery.
Yeah, no, not a lot in the news today. There's no one grinded on anyone at bars. There's little meetings going on in Jacksonville, but besides that, nothing too exciting. So let's get to the waiver section.
Hold on.
No. Now you got something. Now that you want to bring up.
How long do you feel like, Urban Meyer is going to be there?
By the bye week, I think he'll be gone. I predicted he wasn't even going to make the entire season because he's such a flaky coach. And now that he's got a little bit of pressure to him, he hates losing. I don't think he's going to make the year. I think they're going to find a way to get him out of that contract, or they'll be like, listen, we'll give you a little bit of this money. You can just go away now. We don't want you to ruin Trevor Lawrence too bad for us. What do you think, JJ?
What's funny is they almost won last Thursday.
To be fair, they were playing the Bengals, so there was actually a chance for them to win that game.
All right, let's get into the waivers.
Let's do. That one's not abrupt like the recap show where it's screaming right in your face. So
nice little relaxing segue into our next thing. It's really not part of the Garbage Time Fantasy Football brand. How relaxing that drop is.
No, absolutely not. So the first quarterback I'd like to talk about tonight is one we've been talking about for freaking weeks. Don't know if he's still on your waiver wire, but if you haven't added Cam Darnold, 5-touchdown rusher yet, Sam Darnold. You like that?
Yeah, I get it. Because
I heard that in the Fantasy Footballers today. It was pretty good. Cam Darnold. Yeah, so he's rushing the ball out like Cam Newton over there. But 279 yards in the last game, 2 rushing touchdowns, and he throws for it. So he's still being very fantasy relevant, which is some sad shit if the Jets traded him. But hey, Zach Wilson played better this weekend, so I'm not too upset about him. He is a decent option to still add on the waiver wire, and he's not picked up everywhere.
So it's definitely Adam Gase, right?
Yeah, it's Adam Gase in disguise.
It's Adam Gase. It's all Adam Gase's fault.
Isn't it always?
Like every player that's ever left Adam Gase's system ends up being really good at football.
Including Ryan Tannehill,
Kenyon Drake, Sam Darnold. There was more.
Yeah, no. Another quarterback, too, that should be considered as a pickup option this week. I mentioned him last week on the waiver show, too. And if he's not picked up in your league, I don't know what the hell is going on there, because there is a potential he's going to play this weekend, although there is a report that we should have dropped in the news, but we didn't, so I'm going to drop it now. Jimmy Garoppolo is potentially going to be playing this weekend. He initially said that he thought his injury was going to be a few weeks. Then his coach said a week, and now he's listed as day-to-day. So there's a potential that Jimmy G might play, but I still think there's a strong chance that Trey Lance ends up playing in this game, and there might be some smoke here. Shanahan is the kind of guy that doesn't always play his cards to the rest of the league, and especially not to fantasy football players, as we've seen with fucking Brandon Ayuk. So I think there's a strong chance that Trey Lance ends up playing this week. And come on, we're talking about a guy that had 25 fantasy points in a shaky half of football. Imagine if he actually gets a game plan behind him and he's going up against the Cardinals where they're going to have to score a lot of points. It's potentially going to be a lot of points should he start this week.
Yeah, and we seen it in last game where he only played a half and scored something like over 20 fantasy points. He's going to get you points. Like that's just what it is. He's a rushing quarterback. It's going to be great. Another quarterback I want to bring up here that if he's still on your waiver wire, you should pick up. He's rostered in just under 40% of leagues. That would be Mr. Daniel Jones.
He was actually the third on this list.
New York Giants.
God.
Averaging 30 points a game right now.
And it actually led to a win this weekend. Congratulations. Yeah. Cheers to New York teams actually winning when they're actually New Jersey teams.
I know, right? I know the real New York team's been winning. Anyways, it hurts me to say that inside.
Hurt your soul.
The Giants have been playing good football all year long. This is probably one of the better 1-3 looking teams there's been.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that as a homer. Like, they really have been. Most of their games they've lost by a narrow margin. I know the one against Denver was a little bit worse.
Yep.
But that was kind of made worse by a late, like 70-yard touchdown run by Melvin Gordon.
That's nice, Ron, but this isn't a recap show. This is a waiver wire show. This is so bad that JJ doesn't even want to watch anymore. He said goodbye to us.
But Daniel Jones, there's only been one game so far where he hasn't thrown a touchdown. And in that game, I believe he got a rushing touchdown.
Mm-hmm.
But over 250 yards every game. One was 249, but whatever. And he's got the Dallas Cowboys coming up. Defenses look better, but still giving up some points. So I think Daniel Jones this week is a really good start.
All right, so now let me throw another sneaky waiver wire option in here because he's not picked up in a lot of leagues, and he has been a top 12 quarterback 2 out of the last 3 weeks. Can you guess who I'm talking about?
Sneaky quarterback, been top 12 2 of the last 3 weeks. No, I don't know.
And he's actually won 2 out of his last 3 games. His top 12 performance was against the Bills.
Still don't know.
Taylor Heineke.
Oh.
I think he's a decent option. He's increased rushing the ball with his legs, which is fantastic for fantasy football. And I think he's great for 2 quarterback formats. He has been helping me win games in our league, or I had to start Ben Roethlisberger last week. So that's telling you something. He's scoring well, and he is sneaky as a play. I haven't looked at his lineup for this week, but if you'd bring up the schedule, Ron, while I'm still talking about him, just an interesting point I want to bring up about him. He's a competitor. He has no problem targeting Terry McLaurin. McLaurin really hasn't dropped off like we expected he would. We thought Fitzpatrick was really going to bring him out. McLaurin has actually been having good numbers under him. So I believe he's good for this Washington football team, and I think he's a decent option, believe it or not, as a fill-in for your team should your bye week be coming up soon.
Washington football team has the Saints this week.
So that might be a little bit of a rough one, but we thought it would be rough against the Bills, and he played well. So keep an eye on him. Might not be a bad option should you need an emergency quarterback. And I think he's a great play in 2 quarterback leagues right now.
Yeah, I do believe the Bills are a much better defense than the Saints.
Yeah, so let me ask you, Ron, in order of Sam Darnold, Trey Lance, Daniel Jones, and Taylor Heineke, which one should be your first quarterback priority should they be available in your league? And this is hypothetical. Should Trey Lance be playing?
It's still hard because you haven't seen Trey Lance do it for a few games yet.
Mm-hmm.
Sam Darnold and Daniel Jones have both done it all year. They both have been getting rushing touchdowns, or at least rushing upside in Daniel Jones's case.
Mm-hmm.
I would still put them with a slight advantage, but if you want that potential at that monster QB game,
Mm-hmm.
I have to give the edge to Trey Lance on that one.
So Trey Lance would be your number 1 priority ad right now?
I would think so. I think rest of the season he could probably have better fantasy numbers than Sam Darnold and Daniel Jones. But they're all close. They're all really close to me.
The upside there is absolutely insane, and that's why I picked him up before the season even started. I drafted him, and he's been sitting on my bench just marinating. I think the potential is there for him. And look, he was not part of the game plan, and he had 25 points in that half.
Yeah.
The potential's there. Should he not start and you need an emergency guy, pick him off the waivers. One of these other guys might be sitting there still.
Yeah.
If you need to pick someone else up. I think he would be my first ad, though.
Yeah. If you're looking for security, then you definitely want to go Daniel Jones or Sam Darnold. Neither one of those guys are going to lose their job. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Trey Lance, the 49ers are still committed to Jimmy Garoppolo.
Who are our boys playing this week? You should know who Daniel Jones is playing, considering you're a Giants fan. But I don't know who Sam Darnold is playing right now.
Daniel Jones is playing the Cowboys.
That's a great matchup.
Their defense does look better, but it's still a good matchup. The Panthers are playing the Eagles. Another pretty good matchup. I mean, the Eagles defense looked good for a week there, but then has looked not great for the past couple weeks.
Right. And Dallas has been looking better as a defense, but think about this. Sam Darnold played very well against him, and I would argue Sam Darnold's not a top 12 quarterback in this league. He might be for fantasy at this current spot, but he's also played pretty easy teams. They made Sam Darnold look pretty good out there, and Sam Darnold scored well. Daniel Jones has been scoring pretty well against average to mediocre defenses too, so he might be in for another big week there. So I can't believe I'm going to say this. You might want to consider Daniel Jones over Sam Darnold this week, but not over Trey Lance.
Daniel Jones, top 10 fantasy QB.
For now.
Called it real early in the season.
And then flaked on it later on.
We're not going to mention that part.
And the emergency quarterback out of these four here, I believe, would be Taylor Heineke. Although I do believe in him long-term until the Magic's back, and then we'll see what really happens. Although I think Heineke could secure this job with how well he's playing.
I will say this. The 49ers are going up against the Cardinals.
That's got some opportunity if Trey Lance actually ends up playing.
Yeah, but also the Cardinals, they also have a running quarterback.
They do.
So they probably are a little bit more prepped to deal with one of those than some other defenses.
Oh, I would still play Trey Lance, though. That offense is prolific, and they're going to tailor-make it for him. I think he would still score a lot, so I don't care if they have a running quarterback, and they practice every day against that running quarterback. They have not played against Trey Lance, and there is no film on him, so I think that would give him ample opportunity to play well. There's only a half, and it's not detrimental to what he's going to be doing because he was just kind of thrown to the wind there. That's not what you're going to see every single week with him, so I would still play him. And with that, Ron, would you like to move to the wide receivers or the running backs?
Let's go running backs.
All right, so let me ask you a question that's in the title of our show, which people below, we want you to comment on it or comment on it here live if anybody actually tunes into this. Which running back is more important to pick up waivers based on the injuries from Joe Mixon and David Montgomery this weekend? Are you more interested in Damien Williams or Samaje Perine?
The answer is 100% Damien Williams. I mean, yeah, Joe Mixon is hurt, but he's week to week. Like, he could play this week, where we know for a fact that David Montgomery is out 4 to 5 weeks.
Right.
So, and our resident Bears fan said he'll be back after the bye week.
We'll see.
So,
he's going to be excited to have him back in November. If
I will say this.
Games.
In one of my leagues, and this is just kind of how hard you'll probably have to go after him, I had 100% of my fab left. I spent 85 of that fab, and I only won that by $5. So
on Damien Williams?
On Damien Williams.
All right. So obviously the answer would be Damien Williams here. And how much would you be willing to spend on him, say in a regular league that you have $100 then? You said 85%, so $85 if you're desperate. Obviously, with the setup of your team, it's important to understand. If you're good at running back, which rarely people are at this point of the season, don't.
Okay.
But if you're desperate, which most people are, I would say quite a bit of the fab.
Here's my look at it. We're going into week 5, right? Mm-hmm. Most of the people that are going to be available on the waiver wire from this point out are not going to be, week winning, season winning fantasy studs.
Right.
They're not. You don't get to roll this money over the end of next year. You know what I mean? You don't get more money next year if you don't spend it all this year. If you are the Montgomery owner and you have 100% of your fab left, you put 100% of your fab down to get this guy.
Yeah.
If you are playing the David Montgomery owner and you don't want him to get him, and you think it could be a strategic advantage, because that was my case. In the league, I got him. I have 4 pretty decent running backs on my team already.
Right.
But I had 100% of my fab left. I missed out on a bunch of other people earlier, and I'm like, you know what? No one else is getting this guy. I am. So I picked him up and went hard.
Okay. With that, then, you've obviously immaculated on your love for Damien Williams here. What would you be willing to spend on Samaje Perine? Do you think he's even worth the pickup then? Because you believe Mixon's actually going to play this week? Is he worth consideration on your waiver or with fab money?
Oh, he's definitely in consideration, just in case that Joe Mixon doesn't play. But this is more of a, we've never really seen Samaje Perine do it. You know what I mean? We know Damien Williams is a good running back.
Right.
We've seen him play well.
We have seen Samaje Perine recently start taking the work in the passing game for the Bengals. So he's there for that, but I believe he would get the first crack at actually getting the workload after two.
Yeah, but I also don't believe that they're going to lean on him as much as they did Joe Mixon. I think they will turn more to the passing game and lean on Joe Burrow and these wide receivers. Definitely worth an ad, especially if you are the Mixon owner, because it's a guy that's pretty much guaranteed some touches.
Okay, so how much money are you spending on him as a non-Mixon owner versus a Mixon owner?
I think the answer would be about 10% of whatever fab you have left in either case.
Okay, that's fair enough. All right, so what are your thoughts on some of these other running backs I have listed too? I also have Alex Collins here from the Seahawks. Is he worth an investment or a consideration should Carson go down? Because he's starting to get more of the work there and he looks impressive. But he could also just do absolutely nothing because he's done this in the past.
I mean, if Carson goes down, I mean, Rashad Penny is already down, then maybe. But if Carson is still there, Carson is still healthy, it's going to be the Chris Carson show for the most part. So I wouldn't waste any fab on him right now.
Mm-hmm.
I would just wait.
Okay. Would you rather have someone like him? Or would you rather have someone that has potential, and we saw him on Sunday night's game, like a Brandon Bolden for the Patriots, who is now potentially getting passing down work for them?
Brandon Bolden, that team's probably going to be in close game scripts or losing a lot. So Brandon Bolden will have a lot of opportunities to be out there, third downs and 2-minute drills and stuff of that nature. Especially in PPR, I would definitely take Brandon Bolden over Alex Collins.
All right, yeah, that's an interesting take, though, too. So you'd spend more fab on him than Alex Collins, who I don't think is anything more than $1 or $2, afterthought.
I would take a someone shot on Bolden, especially because you got to figure a lot of people are going to be going hard after Damien Williams. Mm-hmm. Bolden could kind of slip through the cracks. You know what I mean? So you might be able to get him for $3-4.
We also have some more thoughts on that Damien Williams ad, but we'll let JJ get into that tomorrow. There's a reason why, which we will elaborate on Thursday. But stay tuned for that if you'd like some information on waivers, more on Damien Williams, because there's an inside track there. Tune in to our shorts, and we'll give you a little bit of info tomorrow morning on it. Anyway, something else that we have to add too. There's some more running backs out here, and it's a little bit deep too. If, in my personal opinion, I think you have a different opinion on it. If Kenneth Gainwell is out there, who is getting the passing work with the Philadelphia Eagles, is still on the waiver wire, pick his ass up. I don't care what Ron thinks about him. I think Ron thinks he's nothing but cannon fodder at this point. Philadelphia is passing the ball a shit ton, and the person getting the passing work there is Kenneth Gainwell. I think he's going to have a fantastic rest of the season. Is he necessarily going to be the starting running back there? No, but they don't run the fucking ball there. They pass the ball, and Kenneth Gainwell is getting the work currently for the Eagles.
Yeah, I mean, he had a decent week this past week, but other than that, he really hasn't. He got the touchdown this week, and that's kind of why he was relevant. He got the touchdown and 6 receptions. I mean, week 3, he only had 3 receptions, no touchdown. Week 2, he only had 2 receptions and no touchdowns. He's not consistent enough, and that offense isn't going to be consistent enough for me to worry about adding Kenneth Gainwell.
I think you're in fucking La La Land over there, but that's nice, Ron. Discussion I think will end up coming up in our segment with Christian at the end of the show.
I will say this, back when everybody else was all hot and bothered about Eli Mitchell, I preached caution with that about his week he had, because there was another running back there that could take the snaps. Now, I know he ended up getting injured, so that's really what caused it. But Kenneth Gainwell's not going to get the snap percentage that he needs to get to be week in, week out fantasy relevant.
And I believe he actually is owning quite a bit of leagues too. But, take a look on the waiver wire, see if he's there. He's going to cost a lot less than Damien Williams. That's for sure.
Oh, yeah.
But I was precautious early in our league, and I ended up picking him up. So he is the 5th running back on my roster, and I'm very comfortable with him in that spot. So, hey, no waiver wire order for me to get him. Anyway, on to our next player, too. It's someone who is kind of reemerged, and I consider him nothing more than an emergency plan at this point. It's Michael Carter from the Jets. He had 14 carries, 34 yards. He's getting the majority of the work there. The running game still does not look good, but he is getting touches. What are your thoughts on him in an emergency pinch?
I don't like it. But he at least he is getting the work.
Mm-hmm.
Like, this offense played much better last week as to what they've been playing. Hopefully with the growth of Zach Wilson, the growth of Robert Saleh as a head coach, this offensive line has new pieces on it. This team could continue to grow and get better throughout the season.
I've never seen such a weird, conflicting offensive line. There's plays where they push the pocket and let these running backs get 7 to 8 yards a carry, and then they look good on pass protection in some plays. And there's other ones where he's just fucking rushing around for his life. It's just such an inconsistent line, neither good nor bad, and I just don't know what I'm going to get from play to play. They're going to get this kid killed, and it sucks because I finally got to see what they saw during the draft. And I absolutely love what I'm seeing out of Zach Wilson. Yeah. He has a fucking arm of gold. If he can keep the interceptions down, he's going to have a long career in front of him. Not that Sam Darnold can't now these with the Panthers, but I'm very happy with the investment after that week. You have any other running backs you'd like to talk about?
Nope. I think that's it.
Okay.
We can move on to the wide receivers.
All right. Usually wide receivers on the waiver wire are plentiful because there's a lot more better wide receivers in fantasy football than there are running backs. So I've got quite a list here. I will give you some options and see what you think about some of them, all right? So what do you think about Van Jefferson as a potential add this week?
For the Rams, right?
Yes.
Are Cooper Kupp, Robert Woods, and Deshaun Jackson all still healthy?
They are.
What about Tyler Higbee?
Correct.
Yeah, no, I don't want anything to do with Van Jefferson.
So we're going to be scratching him off the list. All right, I'll let you have the floor. Kadrius Toney.
Look, Kadrius Toney could be a decent flex / wide receiver 3 if Shepard and Slayton continue to miss games. He was very electric. I mean, I watched the whole game, and every time he caught the ball, it just seemed like he could make something happen in any given time. I just don't know if I trust him to have the trust of the coaching staff yet or anything like that. So I do think that if Shepard and Slayton continue to be out, he could have a good role in this offense that has been moving along pretty well, been scoring pretty decently. So he could be a good pickup. I wouldn't go crazy after him, but a couple bucks in your waiver wire, or if everybody else gets taken, put him as like second on your waiver wire priority.
Okay, you said second on your waiver wire priority. So you would take him over Hunter Renfrow and Rashad Bateman?
Definitely Rashad Bateman, because we haven't seen anything from Rashad Bateman yet.
Okay.
You know what I mean? So Hunter Renfrow, I just kind of assumed that he was already on most rosters because we told people to pick him up last week, I believe it was.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, if you didn't listen to me then you're not going to listen to me now. So it doesn't really matter.
That's a fair point. All right. Moving down this list too, what are your thoughts on Curtis Samuel's return? Do you believe in him?
I mean, he had 4 targets, caught all 4 of them. That's always a good sign. I would like to see those target numbers go up. It's good to have him on your roster, I think, on your bench if you can. I don't know if I'd start him quite yet, though.
So something interesting with Curtis Samuel, too. Washington football team's tight end is hurt for 2 to 3 weeks. He's expected to be out. Do you think this work will therefore start going Curtis Samuel's way because he's kind of a neat little trick play?
It could, or it could go McKissick's way. You know what I mean?
I think that's a strong potential.
It could go Gibson's way. Like, there's a lot of short depth of target type people on this team that could take those targets rather than Curtis Samuel.
Yeah, no, I think that's some good insight into that too. Next, now that MVS is also hurt, some little bit of more news that I guess I could have dropped into there, but we sure as shit didn't do that in order. Randall Cobb, productive this week. Do you think he's going to be productive for the next few weeks and is worth maybe adding to a roster for a week or two if you need a wide receiver? Or would you rather go other directions?
Randall Cobb seems like one of those players that is dependent on a touchdown. But if you're going to have a player that's dependent on a touchdown, there's few better offenses than the Green Bay Packers to be on for a player that's dependent on a touchdown.
So this sounds more like a boom bust prospect for you, similar to how MVS plays.
Right, but, the way, bye weeks are coming up, and you're going to want players off of good offenses for if you don't have a better, choice. You're going to want players off a good offense for that potential of a touchdown to help you stay alive that week.
Which I think he would give you that option. All right, so on to our last one too. Obviously, a little personal favorite of mine is Jamison Crowder, someone that needs to be added to rosters.
Man, he saw a lot of targets.
He did.
And this team won when he came back. I mean, I doubt it's all on Jamison Crowder, but it's got to look good for you if you come back from injury and your team wins its first game of the year. Jamison Crowder's always been fantasy good, just because he's always getting a lot of targets. If you're in a PPR format, he probably should be rostered.
Yeah, no, and that's the key right there, as you said, in a PPR format too.
Yeah,
he's always been an absolute animal in the PPR format too. Someone else on this list that I think will be beast after a few more weeks of getting healthy could be Curtis Samuel too. He typically gets a lot of targets when he is there, and I think there'll be a lot more targets for him too. It'll be interesting to see who performs better in the next few weeks. My guess is going to be Crowder because that's the homer in me, but we will see going forward. Although there is a rookie looking to come back this week who I'm hoping we'll see more than a flash in the pan with, Elijah Moore. So we will see. And do you have any other wide receivers that I didn't list here, Ron, that you'd like to talk about?
None that I can think of offhand, no.
No random Giants receiver you want to throw to this pile?
No, just Kadrius Toney. No one else really. I mean, it showed. Shepard and Slayton weren't there. It went to Galladay and Toney the most. Like, there was some for Ingram, there was some for Barkley, but Galladay and Toney were the two. And one thing I do want to say about Daniel Jones is he's not afraid to throw the ball downfield, and I like to see it.
Stop fumbling that damn ball.
He really hasn't done that much this year either, though.
In my head, he's still doing it every game.
Well, yeah, in my head, every time anyone gets near him, I'm like, oh, hold on to the ball. But I mean,
so bad.
Maybe that's the trick. I just got to keep,
Yeah. A little bit of air voodoo will just keep him from doing that. All right, and now this is just an interesting week for waivers too. This really could be the week that's going to make or break teams going forward too. There seems to be a lot of depth on that waiver wire this week, which last week it felt a little lacking. But now that some of these players have emerged, obviously look at the build of your team, where you need to be strengthened, and put your players in those orders where you need them. And it might be successful for you. So let's talk about another position, which actually had some players emerge this week too, which usually doesn't happen. The tight end position. I'm going to give you your due here. I owe an apology. You brought up Dawson Knox last week on waivers, and I completely blew him off and said, nah, don't add him. You don't want him. He went 5 for 8, 37, another touchdown. He's had 3 touchdowns this year. Is he a play?
It goes back to the touchdown thing again. Like tight ends, you want players on teams. You want the tight ends on teams that could score a touchdown. The Bills are that team. Now, I don't believe I said Dawson Knox was a guaranteed add. I think I was a little bit more dismissive of him. But again, if you need help at tight end and you're scraping the bottom of the barrel here,
Well,
want tight
boy,
ends
there
that
is a
can
lot of
catch.
tar at the bottom of the barrel to talk about too, Ron. I've got 4 others on this list.
Let's roll.
All right. So next is someone we actually said you should have added last week, and he had a good week too. It's Dalton Schultz, and he's still available in a lot of teams too. 8 targets went his way, and he scored another touchdown. And he wasn't the only tight end on that team to score, but he scored consistently. And like you said, a lot of these tight ends are touchdown dependent, but he's consistently getting them early in the season, and he is on the field a lot for this Cowboys team.
I'll apologize here because I said I didn't want to touch either one of these guys. It does seem like Dalton Schultz has the eye of Dak Prescott right now.
Mhm.
Especially when it comes to the end zone. They just seem to have a mind meld going on.
Unlike CeeDee Lamb, what the hell's going on there? I'm not sure, but
that's the thing
we
with
need to
these.
get that fixed.
That's the thing when you have these offenses that have a lot of pieces. You see it in Tampa Bay too.
Mm-hmm.
You never know who it's going to be, but you're never going to be able to bench these guys because you're always going to get it wrong. You just have to deal with the down weeks every once in a while.
Ask anyone who started a wide receiver for the Cardinals.
Right.
All right. So on to our next one. So interestingly enough, I wanted to get Dalton Schultz on our team last week. I did not get him on waivers. I was unfortunate. So I stuck with Jared Cook, and regrettably, I stuck with him, and he surprised me. He got a touchdown and had 70 yards, and I'm going to play him another week. I thought he was going to be leaving my roster, but lo and behold, he became a part of the Chargers offense. And looking into it further, and I did mention this, while the production wasn't necessarily there in week 1 through 3, he was catching targets in the end zone. He was just dropping them. So he was getting the targets, and they do trust him, even when fucking Parham catching touchdowns there. You have Jared Cook there. Just throw it to Jared Cook. Parham, your time will come. Jared Cook's 34. Just throw it to Jared Cook. All right. I would like my team to continue playing well because guess what? While he played well, I was able to win this week and win an extra 2 games. That's right, Tommy. We aren't losing all things. Ryan told me you said that. We are actually winning some of them. So, yeah, I'm 2-2, not a losing record. Ron might have a losing record, but I don't. So don't be giving me shit yet.
Whoa. I won this week, all right?
Sorry. So what are you, 1-3?
Yeah. I'm not out of it yet. Dude, I'm going to get McCaffrey back. Saquon's back to playing top-tier football. I just need Ridley. I just need Ridley to pick it up.
Yeah, we'll see, Ron. Anyway.
He plays the Jets this week.
Yeah, so anyway, talking about Jared Cook, he is heavily involved in this offense, though, too. So guess what? I'm not dropping him.
No, that's fine.
And he might be on your waiver wire. So out of these 3, Ron, Knox, Schultz, and Cook, which order are you putting them in waiver wire priority?
Probably just how you said it.
Right in that order?
Yeah, probably.
I believe in my order, I would have Schultz, Cook, and then Knox. Knox plays in a Bills offense, which I believe also has a lot of mouths to feed. I believe they're not as dependent on the tight end, so you might see a little bit more inconsistency with that position, where I believe the Cowboys are showing that they want to use the tight end, and the Chargers have always used the tight end position, so I'm comfortable with those 2. These ones are a little bit more flyers. Do you trust either one of the Patriots tight ends?
No.
Scratching that off the list. Moving on. Ryan said he liked them, but guess what? Not fantasy relevant at this point. Just keep an eye on him. What about CJ Uzomah from Cincinnati? Who always seems to have this weird breakout game, and then people pick him off the waiver wire.
Nope. They don't really use their tight end all that often. This was a fluke of a game. I doubt it happens again this season.
I feel like we talk about the Bengals having this mirage tight end position once or twice a year. And this was the fluke game. And for the last one, interested in Max Williams from the Cardinals?
Maybe. He's had 2 good games now. Again, high-flying offense, like to pass the ball, do have a lot of mouths to feed, but touchdown opportunity is there. I would go matchups with him.
Mm-hmm.
If they're playing a team that's going to keep pace with them and they're going to have to throw the ball a lot, I would throw him in my lineup. If it's a team that they're supposed to blow out, that they're not going to have to pass the ball an awful lot, I wouldn't start in those weeks.
It's just such a strange concept before because we were talking shit about that with this Cardinals team. They don't use the tight end position at all, and here they are using the tight end position. But to be fair, they're using a lot of weapons on this offense currently, and you don't know what's going to produce week to week. So I think I'm staying away from Max Williams for now.
I do have someone you might want to take that could potentially take a flyer on, and that would be Dan Arnold. Just got traded to the Jaguars. And on Thursday night, his first game, just got there like 4 days prior, had quite a few targets. I think they work him more and more into this offense, and you could see him potentially have some good starting games for you.
So that's not the only tight end Urban Meyer's messing with, huh?
No, it's not.
See what I did there?
I did. I got it. I picked it up.
Yeah, and then you dropped it right down with the hammer.
Yeah.
All right, so last two here are waiver wire defenses. What's that?
Oh, I thought we had more tight ends. I'm like, how?
No, there's no more tight ends. We have plenty of tight ends for you to pick up the waiver wire this week. No, now we move on to the defenses and the positional defenses that you can play against some sketchy offenses. This week, I've got the Panthers listed against the Eagles, who have had a very erratic offense. While it's produced for fantasy, it does help against defenses. What are your thoughts on this pick?
I'm sorry, say that one more time.
Panthers against Eagles.
Yeah, that could be a good play.
And then on my second one, I mean, you just have to play any defense that's going up against the Detroit Lions. So the Vegas Raiders is a potential waiver wire pickup against the Detroit Lions.
Yeah, and they've had some pretty good weeks also.
Any other defenses you'd like to add to this? Or are you going to save that for defensive dominator?
I'll save that for my defensive dominator on Thursday.
All right. And is there a reason why you're putting your hat so far over your eyes? You're like Zorro and I can't see you?
I'm having some light sensitivity issues, so I put my hat down so it wasn't blasting right in my face.
All right, Batman. Let's move on. So can you give me that that voicemail drop?
Sure can.
Voicemails or hate mails, Christian? This is neither. So our message from the boy today. You failed. You left us an email on our website, which is www.garbagetimeft.com. If you leave an email on the website, like Christian did, I will read it on here. So here's our message from him today and leading into the waiver wire challenge for the day, which we haven't done before. All right, boys, I have a challenge for you all. ... Or maybe just Ron and Joe, since Ryan can't be bothered to show up on a podcast and JJ goes into depression after watching the Bears suck every Sunday. Anyways.
How fitting that he had no idea that it was going to be just us two, but he called it.
He totally did. Anyways, I have inherited a computer randomized fantasy team that is currently 1-3. So obviously someone gave up on the season and he is now stuck with the team. I have sent Joe pics of the team and all the current available players. Try to fix it so I can win the next couple of games, and maybe the comeback of the year will be your garbage picks. Show notes. JJ, just because you finally hosted the show on your own last week doesn't make you a hero. A true hero doesn't brag about doing his job. There's no money involved in this league, just lots of bragging rights. So enjoy.
All right.
Thanks for that, Christian. Very uplifting as always. So with that, I am going to pull up the roster that he sent me. And I think because we're not able to pull it onto the screen, we'll just read what the team is and what some potential options are for your waiver wire, Christian. So interestingly enough, on your team, I am seeing nothing but waiver wires right now.
So his team looked pretty solid, honestly. It didn't seem all that bad. One glaring thing that I seen was he's got Brandon Ayuk in his starting wide receiver, and that's just not something you want anymore.
Right. Going down that list too, the starting lineup this is a 2-quarterback league, so keep that in mind too. He has Matt Ryan, Trey Lance, Terry McLaurin, Brandon Ayuk. Unfortunately, I called him out this year. He's not doing so well. He's going to sit on the fucking bench longer for me. I'm invested he's sitting on my bench, but not necessarily the right move for you, Christian. We will get into that. Nick Chubb at running back, Austin Eckler at running back. So you have a fantastic running back situation. You do not want to change that right now.
Nope.
George Kittle, who is underperforming. I do believe he's going to pick it up, though. So I think you're fine with George Kittle there, too. Mike Davis. This is an interesting one here because he is not doing as expected. Some people said he would underperform, but there's a certain Cordell Patterson there, which is fucking it all up for him. So Mike Davis is not doing well there, and I don't think he's going to this season. So that's where we're going to have you change some stuff out. And for his bench, he has Jamar Chase, Brandon Cooks, Michael Carter, which me and Ron have a little bit of a debate on for you, Ron Gronkowski, and Carson Wentz.
Don't worry. We will set your lineup, and you will win this week.
And for your thoughts here, listen, you already have one tight end here, and we looked at your waivers. You can pick people up here, and this is a 2 QB league. You might want to trade Rob Gronkowski for something here.
Yeah, I know George Kittle has not been performing, but he still is solid. He's never going to get you 0 points. And that's all you really need from your tight end. Your roster is solid enough that you could roll with him and not lose weeks with it. And you could probably get something really good for Rob Gronkowski. He's been playing lights out. I would suggest going after any position, really, running back, wide receiver, or quarterback, and upgrading at any position there.
Maybe shoot your shot here and maybe potentially go after a quarterback like a Kirk Cousins, which I think would be an upgrade over a Matt Ryan. Thoughts on that?
And Carson Wentz.
Yep. Yeah, and we're going to talk about that too here. So, listen, Carson Wentz is hurt. He has no upside this year. Someone that you could potentially play this week, hear us out, not season long, but this week might be a decent option for you should you not be able to play Trey Lance, which is also on your roster. Trevor Lawrence is going up against the Titans, and they made Zach Wilson look like a god last week. There's no reason why Trevor Lawrence couldn't look like a god against his secondary. They are underperforming massively. The Titans will run it down the Jaguars' throat, forcing him to throw the ball. He could potentially be a second quarterback for you if you're stuck starting Matt Ryan. But anyway, the rest of your roster is okay, so it's not too bad there. I believe Ron also had a suggestion for changing out Mike Davis for someone else. Who on the roster did you suggest him change it out for, Ron?
Yeah, I would suggest benching Mike Davis and putting in Jamar Chase. I mean, Jamar Chase has had a few good games. They're going against Green Bay, which, initially would seem like a bad matchup. But Jair Alexander is injured. He's not going to play. This defense is not going to be the same. I feel like Jamar Chase could have a really decent week this week. It might be kind of a sneaky play, and it doesn't feel the best when you do it, but the Bengals are going to be behind. They're going to have to throw the ball to keep pace, and I think Jamar Chase could have a really good game.
Ron, you're scaring the shit out of me right now. While that was a good take, you oddly look like Adam Gase right now with the way your beard is done, the way your hat is pulled down so close to your eyes, and I see a shadow and you have the same exact headset. If I pulled up a fucking picture of Adam Gase right now and put a Jets logo on your hat, you would look just like him right now.
Way to doom my entire fantasy year. I probably won't win another frickin' game this entire year in any of my leagues because of that jinx right there.
I'm going to pull up a picture of this moment right now. Stash it. 48 minutes, 42 seconds. And put a picture of Adam Gase with his hat pulled right down to his eyes and show you look just like him right now.
I'm so angry at you right now, Joe.
All right, let's finish giving some advice to Christian's team, which he's probably going to lose again this week because we're talking about Adam Gase. It's just a bad voodoo jinx. Anyway, so we're going to talk about your waivers too. Obviously, you're playing in a league that might be 8 to 10 teams because we saw on your waiver wire that Antonio Brown is still on your waiver wire. How the hell that happened? You must be playing in a very small league. So you need to cut Antonio Brown. You need to cut Brandon Ayuk's ass and pick up Antonio Brown. Your bench is not deep, so you can't stash Ayuk. Antonio Brown has much more upside currently, so cut Brandon Ayuk and get Antonio Brown. And if you do him, you have a thought?
Oh my God. Jacoby Myers is on there.
Another thought. Go ahead.
Just the Jalen Waddle's still on there. I know he hasn't had great games, but upside like crazy.
Listen, Christian, we would cut Ayuk for either one of those at this point.
Yeah.
Anyone else on the waiver wire he should be putting in priority order?
I'm trying to look.
It's a very deep league at wide receiver. So like I said, obviously there's not a lot of players.
It's got to be a smaller one. Well, plus their bench is so small and they're starting 2 QBs that really.
It's a strange format.
Yeah.
And I would also say, Christian, personally, in my opinion, I don't know what Ron's opinion is on this. Depending on the matchup of maybe not. I was going to say maybe potentially starting Antonio Brown over Jamar Chase this weekend, but I don't know who they are playing because Brown actually played pretty well this past week, but I don't know who the Bucs are.
Buccaneers are playing the Dolphins, who have a pretty good defense.
Yeah, no, I don't think I would then. I would probably go with Jamar Chase in that situation too. He would probably be the one I would play in my flex spot there.
And also, if you have an IR spot, pick up Jerry Jeudy and put him on your IR. Jerry Jeudy in that first game before he got injured had something like 6 catches before he got injured. He was heavily involved. I would pick him up and put him on your IR.
And another player that potentially could be added to IR if you have that spot is Jeffrey Wilson for the 49ers. He could be coming back in a few weeks. It is a muddied-ass running back room, but there's no reason he can't sit in the IR spot if you have an IR spot. I didn't see if you had one there, but take advantage of that IR spot. A lot of fantasy football player owners don't do that. One, Jerry Jeudy looked fantastic earlier in the season. Not to say he'll come back and be fantastic, but there's a chance he could be, and he could help your roster. He could be better than Jamar Chase later on in the season. And 2, you never know if you need another running back if you can't add Jerry Jeudy to that spot. So stash Wilson. No reason he can't be on that spot. You can always free that spot up should you need something else like a COVID spot. So we have a comment from a Kellen Brown asking DK, I'm assuming DK Metcalf, and CD for Tay and Adams.
Devontae Adams. So DK Metcalf and CD Lamb for Devontae Adams.
No way.
I'd have a problem with that one too. DK Metcalf and CD Lamb could both outscore Devontae Adams on any given week. Honestly.
Can you tell us a little bit more about your roster too? What is your depth at the wide receiver position currently?
I don't think he's watching anymore. I don't see him on the live thing anymore.
All right, yeah. So if you're not deep at the wide receiver position, I wouldn't even consider this at all. Not that Devontae Adams isn't great here, but you're talking about DK Metcalf, who potentially could be a top 10 wide receiver by the end of the year. He's currently lower right now, not playing the best. And CeeDee Lamb, who still has breakup potential in a great Cowboys offense. You're talking about 2 potential top 12 wide receivers and a top 3 wide receiver here. I would not trade both of them for Devontae Adams. Maybe one of these 2 in a piece for Adams if you have a decent piece, but I would not trade both of them for Devontae Adams.
Yeah, I would. My wideout room is Keenan Allen, CeeDee Lamb, and DK Metcalf. Oh, boy.
That is a little bit more spicy.
Yeah.
And what do you have on your bench for wide receivers?
I'm going to assume it's got to be 2 wide receiver, I would assume. I'm hoping your running back room is good.
It's a little bit more spicy considering Keenan Allen.
You know what? With Keenan Allen there, I might pull the trigger. I might pull the trigger on a CeeDee Lamb, DK Metcalf for Devontae Adams.
Yeah, that's not too bad. I was thinking you were maybe a little bit weaker at that position, but you might also have someone else on your bench, which is kind of interesting too. Although I'd like to know the rest of your roster and the makeup of your team. So his running back
is Saquon and Alvin Kamara. I'd go for it. Go for glory. Yeah. It's a glory move, Kellen. I'm not going to lie to you. It is a glory move. But Saquon seems to be back to form. Alvin Kamara is always going to get you decent production. You might be losing a little bit of depth come bye weeks with your wide receivers. That could hurt you here. However, the weeks where you have all your players, you could have monstrous games.
Yeah, no, I may have come around to this considering your format too. I didn't think you were so deep at the wide receiver position, but with your depth at running back here and your wide receivers, it might be a decent option here. Who are your bench wide receivers? Let's see if he's got anything for us.
Well, I'm even without bench wide receivers, I'm going to assume that this is a 2 wide receiver start, maybe a flex. But I mean, if he's got Keenan Allen already, and he's got Saquon and Alvin Kamara, I would. It's a shoot for the moon pick or play. It really
First
is.
off, I want to know how the hell you ended up with all of them on your roster. Are you in a dynasty league, or that's insane that you have that quality of players all on your roster?
If this is dynasty, then no.
Yeah, if this is a dynasty league, do not do
that. Don't do that. No. But I mean, he could have had Alvin Kamara. Saquon was falling into the second round a lot because of his injury.
Based on the build of your team, the way you're describing it, initially I would have said no, but it sounds like you have a lot more depth than we were initially expecting. You have a shocking amount of depth, in fact. Yeah, go for it. My bench is where I'm weak. I have Ayuk. I have Ayuk too, and it's not working so well. Renfro. And I could try
if you could
go ahead.
If you could do Dallas Goedert and DK Metcalf for Devontae Adams and keep CeeDee Lamb, do it.
I mean, that could be your initial offer. You can try going for that.
I would go for that first. And because of your bench being weak a little bit there, I think Renfro is a decent start that you could use on bye weeks. Ayuk is just not great right now.
And here's another thing too. Obviously for fantasy football, and I think you would see this too, wide receiver depth is a lot deeper than say the running back position. So you might be able to pull that off, especially with Devontae Adams there. Yeah. And with that injury to MVS, he's going to be getting just even more work.
He's also got Michael Thomas on IR. Do it. I would start
without a doubt, you should be doing that. So that is also another key piece of information we didn't have.
I would start with DK Metcalf and Dallas Goedert. I would throw that out there for Devontae Adams. If he doesn't do it, then you could spice it up with CeeDee Lamb. I mean, I don't know how the guy feels about Devontae Adams or any of these other pieces, but I would definitely shoot my shot. I would start with Dallas Goedert if the guy is low on tight end and DK Metcalf. And if you have to, I would do DK Metcalf and CeeDee Lamb. I don't think I would do all three. I don't think.
No, absolutely not. You have to have a limit somewhere, and that wouldn't be it. I mean, yeah, and especially with him on your IR too, you could probably survive a week or two.
Yeah, with Michael Thomas on IR, he should come back and step right into a decent role. Yeah, thank you for the question. Much appreciated. Thanks for watching. Make sure you subscribe, man.
Yep, and something else here too, something about Christian's roster that we wanted to talk about too. Me and Ron had a little bit of a debate here too. So he's got Michael Carter currently on his bench. And currently I saw Kenneth Gainwell on his waiver, and I told you I am a big believer in Kenneth Gainwell. So we will leave this up to you, Christian. I think you should cut Carter currently for Kenneth Gainwell. I like especially if it's a PPR league. I like the work that he's getting. He's pacing well, and I think he's got more upside currently than Michael Carter.
I just feel like Kenneth Gainwell isn't the only running back in that room, where I think Michael Carter could end up being the only running back really on that team. I understand that Dallas is probably going to be a higher scoring team than the Gents season long, but I do believe Michael Carter has more opportunities every given game than Kenneth Gainwell does.
And I would disagree with that. So, Christian, with that, I think we've helped build your roster. So, again, you're a little bit in a hard spot in the quarterback position because, unfortunately, your top QB right now is Matt Ryan. Not to say that a 49ers rookie might not save you, because if Trey Lance plays, I believe he can take that job, but he may not even start this week. So unfortunately, you are going to have to look week by week on who you're going to play at quarterback. And as disgusting as it sounds, Trevor Lawrence is probably your guy in that 2-quarterback format going up against the Titans this week. I'm sorry. Cut Carson Wentz and play Trevor Lawrence.
Yeah, I would agree.
Unless Trey Lance is playing, then you play Trey Lance.
Ooh, Seahawks running back Chris Carson did not participate at practice because of a neck injury. Seattle plays the Rams on Thursday.
So now with that, Ron, since we're now on an hour, but now that we have that little bit of an update, what's your thoughts on Alex Collins now?
I don't know. I still don't know if I'd want to play Alex Collins on a short week going against the Rams on a Thursday.
Yeah, no, that is a good point too. This is a Thursday game, which could make it difficult to come up with a game plan. They may be passing a shitload. Or because so what happens typically in a Thursday night game is they go off a similar game plan as the previous week. So actually, I'm a little bit conflicted now because they tried to run the ball before. In the last game, it was the most rushing they had done this season. So maybe Alex Collins would get a little bit of work, especially considering that game is Thursday.
Yeah, but also, worth adding if you can pick him up and stash him.
Mm-hmm.
But going against the the Rams defense, those dams, going against the Rams defense is not an easy task for running backs. There's this little guy there named something like Aaron Donald who tends to just destroy anything you try to do.
Mm-hmm. But if you were desperate and Carson should not play Thursday, and you grab Alex Collins and start him this week because it's early in the week, put him in the running back spot on your roster. Many fantasy football players throw them in the flex, which really removes your ability to move players around on Sundays.
Some people really mess up on Thursdays and forget to put the people that are playing on Thursdays in the actual position.
That's right, Adam Gase.
Sometimes when you even host a fantasy football podcast and you tell people this all of the time, you still put the person in the wrong position.
And then you're very limited going into Sunday, and you lose. But we digress. Ron, do you have any closing thoughts before we get out of here?
No, I think we've wasted enough of people's times.
That's right, Kellen. We definitely wasted a bunch of our times. Hit the subscribe button below, www.garbagetimef.com, if you want to leave a voicemail. If we fuck you over and did bad, you make that trade, and it's horrible for you, leave a hate mail on the website. We will gladly play it on here, too.
Joe.
Directed to Adam Gase over here. Yeah, don't even lie with that bullshit.
Oh, get out of here. Make sure you go over and you check us out at our website, www.garbagetimef.com. Leave voicemails, hate mails. Emails are fine, too. We will read those also. Remember, we're a young podcast. We don't have a whole ton of viewers, so you do these things, chances are you'll hear it on air because we don't get a bunch of traffic. So,
yep. And you can listen to us on Spotify, TuneIn, iHeartRadio, Apple, Google, lots of places, most places where you find it. I believe I already said TuneIn. And we also have a sister podcast show, which is doing damn good on their picks and is going to win you some listen. What's that show, Ron?
That is Garbage Time Presents the MMA podcast.
And you can also find that on www.garbagetimef.com.
That's right.
Corner tab.
All right. And make sure over on Apple Podcasts, you leave us a review. We don't care if it's 5-star. I mean, it'd be nice. We think we're pretty 5-star, but that's just us.
But you might not think Adam Gase is 5 stars. So
Adam Gase is definitely not 5 stars, and I hate you, Joe. All right, we're gonna get out of here before I
get us out of here, Adam Gase.
All right.